The station hummed its familiar evening lullaby, the hiss of hydraulic doors, the distant chime of an approaching train, the shuffled steps of 1,000 commuters. I stood on the Yamanote Line platform, my mind a numb vacancy drifting homewards. Then, without warning, without sound, it happened. A white screen. It didn't flicker in my vision like a camera flash. It unrolled from the center of the world, a vast, silent void that washed away every color, every shadow, every face in the crowd. For a single suspended heartbeat, there was only the light, pure, absolute, and cold as winter's first breath. It was a surgical incision in the fabric of reality, and as it cut, it did not hurt. It simply erased, leaving nothing but a clean, terrifying blankness. When the white screen withdrew, the world snapped back into place. But it was wrong. Oh, it looked the same at first. The same gray platform tiles, the same glowing advertisements above. But then I saw the man in the blue coat. He was frozen, absolutely still, his arm halfway reaching for a pole suspended in midair. The woman beside him with a cup of coffee halfway to her lips, her eyes not even blinking. The train announcement crackled through the speakers, but the voice was off, too slow, too deep, like a recording played at half speed as the words stretched into a guttural groan. Everyone remained statues. I turned in a slow circle, my heart beginning to pound. The digital clock on the platform read 7:03 p.m., but the second hand had stopped twitching faintly in place, as if caught on an invisible edge. A sound then behind me, a high-pitched rhythmic clicking, like the rapid tapping of a fingernail on glass. It came from everywhere and nowhere, echoing off the silent walls. I spun around, searching, my breath misting in the cold air that no one else seemed to breathe. At the far end of the platform, a figure was moving, but it wasn't walking, it was sliding. Her feet didn't touch the ground, she glided forward, a few inches above the concrete, her body swaying with a sickening, boneless fluidity. Her head was tilted at an impossible angle, her eyes wide, unblinking, and white, completely white, like two small versions of that screen. And she was smiling, a smile that was far too wide, a gash of a grin that showed too many teeth. As she slid closer, the clicking grew louder, and I realized it was the sound of her joints snapping and popping out of place with every jerky twitch of her head. She was coming for me, and the frozen world around us felt like a held breath, waiting to see what I would do. I tried to run. I willed my legs to move, to carry me toward the stairs, but my body was sluggish, as if I was swimming through honey. The white-eyed woman was getting closer, her clicking joints now a staccato symphony. I stumbled backwards, my gaze darting to the frozen commuters, their empty eyes staring into nothing. And then I saw it. On the digital clock above the tracks, the seconds hand jerked forward one tick. The loudspeaker crackled to life, this time with a clear, normal voice announcing the arrival of the next train. As the train's headlights rounded the bend, the white-eyed woman stopped, her smile vanishing like it had never been. She simply fell a few inches to the ground, landing on her feet with a normal thud, and began walking away, humming a cheerful tune. Around me, the commuters unfroze, their movements resuming as if nothing had happened. The man in the blue coat grabbed the pole. The woman sipped her coffee. I stood there, gasping, my skin crawling, as a perfectly normal train pulled into the station, its doors opening with a friendly hiss. I did not get on that train. I turned and ran, but I knew, deep in my gut, that I would never be able to outrun the echo of that white screen or the memory of those empty, smiling eyes. It was a Tuesday evening, just past rush hour, and I was standing on platform 7 of Tokyo Station. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the air smelled of metal and rain. I was tired, my mind drifting when a white screen suddenly flashed before my eyes. Not a blink, not a trick of the light, but a solid, blinding whiteness, as if the entire world had been erased in a single frame. For a moment there was nothing, no air, no ground beneath my feet, just the white. Then as quickly as it came, it was gone. The white dissolved and the world returned. But it was wrong. The train was still there, but its windows were opaque black pools. The passengers who had bustled around me were standing still, perfectly still, like wax figures in a derailed museum. Their faces were frozen in mid-expression, a smile, a scowl, a yawn. But all their eyes were the same. They were all looking at me. Not past me, not through me, but directly at me. And in those glassy orbs I saw a reflection of the white. A faint, sickening luminescence swam in their pupils, as if the screen had marked its territory inside every soul but mine. A low hum began, not in my ears but in my bones, a solitary note that vibrated with the promise of something unspeakable about to be unveiled. I tried to move, but my legs felt heavy, anchored to the concrete. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might shatter my ribs. The hum grew louder, deeper, resonating in my skull. A woman a few feet away, her mouth frozen mid-laugh, began to twitch. Her lips trembled, then her eyelids. One by one, the others started to move, but not in any way that mimicked life. Their joints bent at wrong angles. Their heads tilted too far to one side, and they began to shuffle toward me in unison. Not walking, but sliding. Their feet scraping the floor in a dry, rhythmic scrape. A white light in their eyes pulsed, and I realized the screen hadn't disappeared. It had just spread. It was inside them now, and it wanted me to join. The hum grew into a whisper, a chorus of 1,000 voices speaking a single word in perfect, chilling unison. It thrummed through the air, a name I did not recognize yet felt etched into my DNA. Then the movement started. Not the organic flow of life, but a jerky marionette-like twitch. Every head on the platform turned, their necks craning in the same mechanical rhythm until they all faced the large digital timetable above the tracks. The board, which had listed the next departure in clear Japanese characters, was now a single, pulsing column of that same pure white. The words of the whisper solidified on the screen, letters forming not from pixels but from the very light that had stolen my sight. It read, "The offering is ready." I tried to scream, but the sound died in my throat like a moth caught in a flame. My body was not my own. It felt as if invisible strings had been attached to my limbs, tugging me forward with a gentle but irresistible force. The air grew heavy, thick as water, and the whispers became a deafening roar in my ears. The people around me began to move in unison, a single, synchronized wave of bodies stepping toward the edge of the platform. Their eyes were open, but empty, milky white, like the screen that had started it all. I saw a child clutching her mother's hand, her face frozen in a smile that was too wide, too perfect. The mother did not look down. She just kept walking. I struggled, digging my heels into the ground, but the strings pulled harder. My feet scraped against the concrete as I was dragged closer to the edge. The train was coming. I could hear it now, a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the soles of my shoes. The lights of the train appeared in the tunnel, growing brighter and brighter, but they were not yellow or white. They were that same pure, blinding white, the same white that had filled my vision when the screen first flashed. The train was not a train. It was a conduit, a vessel for that light. And then I saw them, figures standing on the tracks just beyond the yellow safety line. They were human-shaped, but wrong. Their proportions were off, their limbs too long, their heads too large. They stood perfectly still, facing us, their mouths open in silent screams. The light from the train passed through them, casting no shadows. They were made of the same white as the screen, the same white that now glowed from the eyes of everyone around me. "The offering is ready," the voice whispered again, but this time it was inside my head. It was my own voice speaking the words I did not want to say. I looked down at my hands. They were glowing, a faint, translucent white like a corpse lit from within. The strings pulled harder, and I felt my feet leave the ground. I was floating, drifting toward the edge, toward the figures on the tracks. The train was almost here. Its roar was a scream now, deafening, world-ending. The figures opened their arms, welcoming me. And in that moment, I understood. The white screen was not a warning. It was a summons, and I had already answered. The white screen returned, but this time it did not fade. It rushed toward me, a tidal wave of light that filled the world, the station, the silent figures. It was inside me now, a pressure behind my eyes, a static hum where my thoughts should be. I tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed by the brightness. My body felt light, untethered. Then, just as suddenly, the light receded. I was on the platform again, the train arriving with its familiar hiss, commuters pushing past me to board. The hum was gone. The white was gone. Everyone moved with normal haste, their eyes oblivious. The timetable showed the correct time. I checked my reflection in the dark glass of a vending machine. My eyes were normal. But as I stepped onto the train, I felt it a faint, cool hum, deep in my bones, and at the corner of my vision, a tiny, unwavering flicker of white. It was waiting. It had marked me, and I knew with a certainty colder than the white light itself that I was not on my way home. I was being led somewhere else.